Hey guys! So today we're going to talk about a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Frederick, why do you think, or from your perspective, why did jQuery fall from popularity? So why basically has jQuery lost its popularity? So let's get into it. Now, this is a great question. Why isn't jQuery as popular as it once was? What could be the reason behind that? Well, there's of course no guarantee that my definition or my interpretation of why this happened is going to be the correct one, but I'm still going to give you a suggestion for it. So, first and foremost, let's have just a little bit of a think. It's been quite a few years since jQuery came around, and at the time we had one very fundamental issue on the web. And that fundamental issue was browser inconsistencies. The browser vendors had this, they hadn't really reached a consensus as to how to do certain things. So in order for you to manipulate the DOM using JavaScript, you had to very often actually write multiple implementations for the different browsers. So if you were in IE, you needed one implementation, and if you were in Safari or like whatever browser you were in, you kind of had to deal with that. And that's one of the most fundamental things that jQuery solved for us. It gave us a way, basically, to simply abstract all of that away, so we didn't have to think about so much how to select an element or do all these different animations and stuff of that nature. So jQuery, I will argue, is the king. It's probably the most important JavaScript library that has ever existed. It is hands down the most important one, because from jQuery's initiative, we actually saw a movement. And this is it's a very interesting thing that happened, because today, why jQuery isn't really all that necessary anymore is because the browser vendors have started to reach a consensus. You have a common API. They have started working together in order to set good standards that will work across each of the different vendors, regardless of which one you're using. And that's a great thing. I'm not saying that jQuery was alone in all of this, but they have been the bridge. We had this issue to start off with, they helped us with that, and now we've seen the browser vendors catch up. So the browser APIs are a lot better than they were back in the day. Therefore, jQuery no longer really has that leg to stand on anymore. And the second thing that makes this, well, hopefully this will make sense to you as well, is that for better or for worse, regardless of how you feel about it, the industry has now started moving towards SPA frameworks, or single page applications. Tools such as Vue, Angular, React, Ember, and Aurelia, and whichever one you're using. These have become fairly popular. Now, why is that? Well, I will argue that the reason why these came around and became so popular is because the web wants to be able to provide a native feel, an intuitive feel, to the users. You want to be able to leverage the same sort of user interactions as you have on a mobile device, for example. Now, that means that you nowadays have not necessarily standard web pages where you click a link and you go to different routes and so forth, or rather you see people using tools like React, for example, to simulate just staying on the same page. You have a very liquid and very dynamic UI that can change and still keep you on the same page, if that makes sense. In other words, you, just like with the mobile device, you can click on something, an image or something like that, and it kind of slides you into the next view. A very similar sort of thing where you have the same page, but you are simply moving about within that context. Now, that is an excellent use case for an SPA framework, but not for jQuery, because jQuery was designed in a time when the use case was not to have an entire page that dynamic. It was about having some manipulation of HTML elements or having so-called widgets. Widgets were a really big thing as well, where you have one or two components that is dynamic. Everything else is static HTML, server-side rendered, that, you know, the tried and true technologies. But you had one or two components that had to kind of have their own life, if you will, and needed to have these nice interaction. A classic one is a date picker. I don't know how many date pickers I've seen in jQuery, where you're just able to pick a date through this component. And a lot of people use these. But now, the use case is, we want to build the whole thing using JavaScript. As I said, for better or for worse. But that's where we stand. And jQuery is simply not equipped to offer you that sort of solution, because it was never designed to do that. It was designed to help you with one component or a little bit of DOM manipulation. So that's the two reasons I will argue that jQuery has all but vanished from the top list of relevant technologies. I would say that today, the only reason to learn jQuery or keep jQuery around is for legacy reasons. If you're working with the old code base or you need to support very old browsers, then it makes sense. But otherwise, there's not really any point to it. So what I would like to do, or what I would like to end on, is to say that jQuery has the most important place in Hall of Fame of JavaScript. In the JavaScript Hall of Fame, they have the VIP lounge. Like that library has the VIP lounge in the Hall of Fame. But we should move that. To be honest, there's no real reason to keep on using it at this point. The legacy they have left is immense, and I only hope that we will see that same sort of genius, because it was genius, come to solve the sort of problems that we have created today using SPA frameworks. Who knows? Maybe we will. Have a great day.